Even though if I get up with them, like they knew I'm selling something to them. They were like, we are not interested in these.
Hmm.
What do you think about that? Have roofers have main roofers I'm reaching have often gatekeepers. How to bypass those gatekeepers? Do you have any idea about that?
Well, cold calling is tough, um, especially if you sound like someone who they know they're going to want to hang up on.
Yeah,
Okay. You're from India. You have they recognize your accent. They get 1,000 phone calls from people who sound just like you do.
yeah,
And so their initial knee-jerk reaction is, we're not interested. So you need to
yeah,
say something that really catches them off guard. So let me give you an example of what you could say that you might try out and it might get you better results past the gatekeeper. And this is a general rule of thumb that I recommend for almost anything you do in life. And that is, I call it leaning into who you are. So what I mean by that is lean into it. Don't try to hide who you are. Lean into who you are, and use that to differentiate yourself and get people's attention. So your first, now this is just off the top of my head, so I don't know if this is going to sound good, but you'll understand the point that I'm going for. When they
yeah,
pick up the phone, you might say something like this. You might say, "Hey, I know that my accent makes me sound like just another guy from India trying to sell you something, but this is really cool. Can you talk for a minute or can blah blah blah, whatever the next line is." So tell them what they're already thinking.
yeah,
Tell them, say it, like admit it and they'll be like, "That's hilarious. This guy, it
yeah.
must be really confident about what he's doing because he is admittedly say, the trick is you need to get in their heads. So what are they thinking when they hear your voice? They're thinking, I'm not interested. I want to hang up. So you tell them that. Say, hey, I know you're not interested in anything I have to say because you can tell by my voice that I'm probably just trying to sell you something. I'm from India and I'm calling you up and you're like, well, who is this guy? But this is real cool, whatever you say. What you should say next is tricky, and we'll have to think about that. Um, but but the bottom line is whatever that opening sentence is, that you need to get them listening and not hanging up, and you'll get them to listen if you say something like that because that's what they're thinking. They'll want to
And
listen just to see what you say next because what you just said was so funny and interesting and so honest that wow, this guy might be different than all the other ones.